if someone is watching and they are wondering, should I like make a dating profile, try to meet someone online? Because you did say they are successes. Or should I wait to meet someone in person? And are either one of those options trusting more or less in God?
Do both.
What is the truth behind dating apps?
Find out on this episode of LED Live.
Light exposing darkness.
Welcome to LED Live. Thank you for tuning in. We got a lot to talk about today, but first we want to thank our Patreons and our donors on our website because we wouldn't be able to do this without you.
You want some cool merch? We've partnered with Lightwear, a Christian t-shirt company. I'm wearing one of those shirts, and Kendi and Brad. And one of our, actually, she's really kind of like our only designer right now. Regine is joining us from Lightwear, and she's going to be on our show today. So welcome, Regine.
Do you know what? We're actually talking about dating websites today. Who has been on a dating website?
Is Hot or Not a dating website?
Like signed up?
Signed up, talked to people, maybe just looked around a bit. I don't know.
I think I have.
No, me either.
Guilty.
You're guilty?
Yeah? Guilty?
Ooh.
You guilty?
No.
Never.
No.
Never? What about you, Brittany?
Real quiet. Yes, I've been on a dating app.
Oh,
Confession.
right.
She's about to plead the fifth over there.
Yeah.
So what's really interesting about that, see, I use that word again. I use that a lot. Brittany pointed that out earlier. What's fascinating about that is that I actually used to own a dating website, a Christian dating website. And it happened a long time ago when I was, well, not too long ago, I guess, maybe about 10, 15 years ago now. But I was out of work and I didn't have a lot to do as I was looking for another job. And I thought, you know what? I'm bored out of my mind sitting on my couch. I want to meet other people more than just once a week at church. And so I was like, you know what? There's got to be a better way to do this. So since my background is IT, and I thought, you know what? I can do this. I'm going to write it and I'm going to figure it out, and people are going to come to the site and I'm going to get to meet them. And so I started putting stuff together. But as I started putting stuff together, it became quite a big deal. Because the way I put it together, a lot of people started joining the site. So much so, and I'm getting to the end of the show too fast here, so I'm going to reveal a lot. But what was very fascinating about it is that I ended up selling the website after I got married, because I didn't want to approve pictures for women that weren't my wife anymore. But I ended up selling it, and it had a lot of members, a lot of Christian members on there of a specific denomination, and it was fascinating to see all the different ways people would communicate and try to keep people out that weren't supposed to be there. And there was so much going on. And so what we did, we asked you a while back what questions you would have for someone who was managing a dating website on social media. We asked that on social media, and you gave us your questions, and we're going to answer those today.
Cool.
So
We'll try to answer them.
we're going to try to answer them all today.
Okay.
So what we got is some behind the scenes. One of the main questions that people ask are, do website owners read my messages? Anybody want to know what the truth of that is? Do they read people's messages?
That's a
I
very
would think
interesting
that's
question.
a more automated thing.
Right.
I'd be surprised if an owner or a manager is going through like hundreds or maybe hundreds of thousands of messages just because.
What about passwords? Do you think they know your passwords that they own the website?
How do they access it?
Right.
It depends on how they're stored.
Yeah.
So we're going to answer some of those today, but
Those are good questions.
But before we get into that, I think what's really interesting is the spiritual aspect of this whole thing and how that ties into it, because it's dating in the Bible. Can you think of any portion of the Bible that talks about dating? Just throwing that out
Not
there.
really.
The way we do it in today's society, in today's Western world, can you think of any type of dating in the Bible?
The way we do it today? No.
Not the way we do
But
it
there
today,
is
but
dating
like
in the
people that
Bible.
were like betrothed to one
Yeah.
another, you know.
Okay, I don't think it is found in the Bible in the context of like today's dating space, but there's definitely, in my opinion, dating in the Bible. We have, in a way, a man chasing a woman, where you have Jacob, where you have Jacob chasing Rachel, so to speak, and like his pursuit of her, working for 7 years, trying to win her affections and all
Very
of that.
good.
But then you have the flip, where you have, in a way, a woman chasing a man with Ruth and Boaz. So that's just a couple. There's more.
Is there? Can we think of, there was another one. I have a third slide for it. We're going to read these verses in a second.
Is that the one where the uncle went and like said, whatever woman feed or like gives my camel water, that's going to be your wife or something?
That is one of them.
That's a strange dating technique right there.
Yeah, very good.
I was thinking of Joseph and Mary. They were betrothed.
Oh,
The Bible
wow.
basically says. So they weren't married yet. They were together.
I didn't even think of that one. Yeah, I had to put that one in there.
Yeah.
What about you?
No, I was just thinking that's interesting because you were asking if we see any evidence of dating as we do in the Western world, but like dating in the Western world is more like marriage. So like seeing, like what I'm hearing from these Bible texts really is just matchmaking. There's not really a dating process unless we have to redefine dating because it's no longer biblical.
That's right. Bring it back.
You know, it's funny though that in the instance of dating or dates and how they ended up, it's only bad examples. I'm thinking of Samson and the Philistine woman. Let's meet up, and you know what happened with that.
Wow.
There's another one.
David and Bathsheba.
David and Bathsheba.
I mean, is that a date? Kind of like a hookup.
Oh, yeah.
I would hope he at least wined and dined before, hey, I'm your king, sleep with me. But yeah.
So let's read some of these verses. This is really interesting. Genesis 24, 3-4 says, this is about Isaac and Rebekah. I want you to swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of earth, that you will not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I am living, but will go to my country and find my own relatives and get a wife for my son Isaac. Now, why was he so concerned about going back to his country? It seems like that today is, hey, go back to my family and find me a wife. It's kind of weird, right?
Yeah, that is weird.
Yeah, that seems a little.
He's wanting to find a wife from his own family. I mean, I'm guessing it's the whole don't be unequally yoked concept. Like you want to find somebody that has the same values as you, and not like if you analyze people in Tennessee and then go to like San Francisco, you're probably going to be a whole lot of different worldviews, you know?
Exactly. I agree.
Yeah.
And usually it works better when you date someone within your culture. You like these things about unspoken rules and all of that, or traditions. It's just easier. Not that it's impossible to get with someone like maybe from the East versus the West and they come together and it work, but it's just easier when you're from the same culture.
Well, that's interesting because Brad is married to someone of a different culture. There's probably, I mean, you've kind of brought up like, this is the way they do it in their culture. This is how we do it. So.
And I have to be sensitive to those things too. And sometimes it's completely contrary to what I'm used to. And so I have to say, whoa, stop, let's go ask my wife and see if that's kosher to talk about when we all meet together.
Right.
Or if we if I do this a certain way, or if I eat this a certain way at the meal table. It's all you got to be kind of very, very delicate. Where if you marry your same culture, you don't have to really worry about that. There's a little less controversy in the end because there's less misunderstandings.
I'm curious if the word relatives really literally means relatives, or if it's just kind of like you said, like culture.
That was his family.
Back then?
Yeah.
So it was, there was so little people on Earth, I guess, back then compared to today. 8 billion people, I think we just hit, that there was probably still his family, but you could do that genetically. You wouldn't have genetic problems, I guess.
In the text, I don't think it really matters because we know the story, and he did go to the relatives. So
Yeah.
whether the word means that or not, that's what he did.
Okay.
Very interesting. There's another one, Jacob and Rachel. Remember Jacob and Rachel? Genesis 29:19 says, Laban said, it's better that I give her to you than to some other man. Stay here with me. So
This is the one where he worked for 7 years. I remember that. So he said it felt like days, but then he got the first daughter instead and worked another 7 years, 14 years for this chick, and it felt like mere days.
Wow, you don't sound too willing, Mikey. You wouldn't work for your wife 14 years?
That's a long time.
That's how bad he wanted her.
Maybe they lived longer back then. I don't know.
It's very interesting that the parents are so involved with the betrothing of and binding of people in marriage. I think that's really fascinating.
You think the parents were a lot involved and the man was a lot involved. It seems like the women don't have much of an option though.
Well, no. If we actually read the whole story in Genesis, her parents and her brother asked her, "Are you okay with this?"
Oh, good.
They asked her permission if she wanted to leave that the next day, or if she wanted to wait a few weeks. So she was very involved.
Good.
Rachel.
Wow.
Yeah, which is, I so appreciate when the Bible is that blunt in those regards.
Yeah.
Like, involve the woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. And Boaz and Ruth. Remember this story? This is Ruth 3:1-5.
One day, Ruth's mother-in-law Naomi said to her, "My daughter, I must find a home for you, where you will be well provided for. Now Boaz, with whose women you have worked, is a relative of ours. Tonight he will be winnowing barley on the threshing floor. Wash, put on perfume, and get dressed in your best clothes. Then go down to the threshing floor, and don't let him know you are there until he is finished eating and drinking. When he lies down, note the place where he is lying. Then go and uncover his feet and lie down. He will tell you what to do." "I will do whatever you say," Ruth answered.
So what is going on here? This seems a little scandalous to me, but maybe I'm just kind of reading this the wrong
Let him
way.
eat and drink, get in bed with him, and he'll tell you what to do.
I don't think they got in bed together. I think something interesting was happening here though, because everyone had to sleep somewhere, but she wanted to go ask him a question privately. Is that what's going on? Does anybody know the story?
Well, the text doesn't say that, it's like she got in bed with him. She was asked to lie down at his feet. It was a cultural custom. So, again, though, parents very involved. It was her mother-in-law that was really encouraging her, go do this.
Mm-hmm.
This is how you do it. And Ruth, coming from a different culture, it may have been different because she was a Moabite, might have approached the situation differently. But she's like, now you're in Israel, this is how we do things. This is how you pursue the relationship and make yourself, your intentions known.
Now, Ruth, this is the story where she prevented her people from being killed, right? Or is that another
That's
one?
Esther.
Esther. That's right. Okay, my bad.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. Ruth is an interesting story, but it's fascinating to me here that the parents are so involved, and she still goes up and she still talks to him, and he's always been helping her out anyway, and so there is this already a connection here, and so it's not like this is some random dude. When we think of, I think it's better said this way. When we think of a parents giving their daughters or putting people together in arranged marriage, Hollywood has portrayed it as, you never even see this person beforehand, and all of a sudden on the marriage day, I mean, we see these dating shows on TV where I didn't see her until my wedding day and all this other stuff, and think like, oh my goodness, oh no, all this other stuff, right? But what's going on here is both parties are very involved. The parents are very involved, and I think that's kind of the most interesting takeaways from this. What do you think?
Okay, so I read this verse and I'm reminded of Pastor Leggett. He was on our show, I think, in February, and he's a marriage and relationship counselor, family counselor, and one of the points he brought out is us as women and also men should, when you're looking for a partner, you should always look and present your best. Not that it's the fake version of you, but just, be a little bit more intentional about how you look, how you present yourself, how you act, so forth and so on. And I think that was Naomi's perspective as she was advising Ruth. So when it says, go wash yourself, put on perfume, you have to understand Ruth was out
working,
right? Mm-hmm. And I'm just to assume the culture back then and the amenities that were there, that wasn't probably something they did often. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So yes, go clean yourself up and put on perfume, get dressed in your best clothes, and then go to Boaz. And I don't know what to say much about the uncovering feet. I don't know what that has to do with their culture, but obviously that was necessary maybe to make sure that he was, instead of approaching someone in a crowd, sometimes when they're busy, you wait till they're maybe alone or in a more appropriate place. I'm assuming at this point. But one thing to note, though, I don't know if there was an interaction between Ruth and Naomi and Boaz previous to this. I know she knew that he was family or something like that, but I don't know if there was any previous interaction. What was interesting was Ruth's excitement about him because of the interaction they had previously, because of how he treated her, because of how he had like his own deportment, and that's what drew her to him more than first sight, full of lust and all of that. I think it was a lot deeper than that. And Naomi picked up on that, knew of his connection, the relationship that was there, and then advised accordingly. I think this is a beautiful story.
It is really a beautiful story. What I thought, and I might be completely wrong, but I thought it was a point where Boaz was knowing that Ruth was in the field gathering, and he would say, hey, leave some extra for her. We know that she's gathering some stuff on the side. So I thought there was like this duty of, hey, I'm going to help out. I know you're around, but and things like that. So I thought that's how they knew of each other, but probably didn't think of each other in that way.
Right.
But so I think it's really interesting in how people get together biblically and how people get together now. Can you think of some examples of how people get together now?
Hooking up.
Yeah, just like your profile picture. You look hot, girl. What's up?
Yeah.
Slide in the DMs.
Yeah. And so what's that? People have this saying now. It's like a swipe left, right?
But sometimes they just take
Swipe
what
right.
they can get, like a casting out a net. Hey, can't get your number, can't get your... Oh, you'll give me your number? Okay, cool, let's do something. Like, there's no intentionality about it.
Right. And so as society has slowly churned, we have kind of gotten away from that biblical aspect of dating. But there are some aspects in the Bible that are not as good, because the Bible has both good and bad in it. Can you think of any that are bad?
We mentioned one. Yeah. David, yeah. Yeah. David had a number, not only did he have Bathsheba, right, but he had a number of wives. I'm not even sure about Xerxes.
I'm not sure about Xerxes and Solomon.
Yeah, so they had a number of wives too.
Yeah, Solomon had 1,000 wives.
1,000 wives, and that's.
So you're talking about quantity, not how he did it.
Yeah,
pagans and everything. He was probably getting them for the wrong reasons, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably political. He was a king who sought for peace. He was completely opposite from David, who was like a conquering king type. So I could see how he went that way, making pacts with people. Okay, we won't come to war with you if you give me your wife or something, whatever the culture was back then.
So you have all these people that have just done things right and done things not so right. Samson is one I think of right off the bat. That's what did he say to his parents? Get her for me because she pleaseth me well, right? Well, that's kind of mimicking what we do today. A lot of people get on dating apps and they say, well, what pleases me well? They don't even know what the person's like. But that doesn't make the actual platform bad. It's how you use it that's bad. However, if the platform's goal is to focus on how the appearance of the person is first and not getting to know the person, perhaps it's got ulterior motives.
But isn't that life?
Huh?
Isn't that what people do naturally anyway?
What do you mean?
Like, so if we're saying like on dating sites, it's basically, who do I find attractive? Isn't that what people do in real life? Like if you see a girl who's beautiful, you'll walk up to her and
I don't know, Brittany, is that what you do?
I'm asking a question here.
There's going to be an element of that.
Yeah. I don't think it can physically work if you don't have attraction, because it's just not going to work. But that made me think of an interesting spin on a dating app where you don't see anybody.
We're going to get into that.
Okay, cool.
There are some that are like that.
Awesome. Like you just fill in your interest and things like that.
That's like on the complete other side. That's
Personality
swinging
test.
the pendulum.
Maybe it's like...
That's important. And
maybe it's like it unlocks after you fill in your interest and things like that. And then it says, these are women that have these same interests. And then, like now you get to see these women specifically.
So say you signed up for one of these dating websites. Okay, you signed up for one of these dating websites, even if you haven't been on it. The first thing you do, you get on there and you want to look around, because the majority of the ones that are set up today are, you go in there, you look around a bit, you can't receive any messages from the person because you got to look through it first, you find your interest, and then you try to get further into the site if you want to talk to someone. The platform is made to make money for the business, right? It's not made to help you find a wife or a husband.
wow.
So check this out. This is the flow chart, and I'm going to put this up on the screen here so you can see it. So it's very, very fascinating. This is how it goes. You find someone you like, and it asks you, are you a subscriber? If yes, it lets you send a message, right? If no, then it says maybe you should pull out your credit card and say hi. So you pull out your credit card and you message the person back. Except they can't respond to you either unless they are a subscriber.
Wow.
And so you have what's going on is the majority of pay dating sites are 90% unable to respond and not able to contact you. Statistically speaking, you have specific sites, and I'm thinking of all the big ones. I'm not going to name them because they are enormous. But even the small Christian ones, this is not geared to make you find a soulmate.
Yeah.
It's geared to make you
pull out that wallet.
Pay for it. And then not only are you paying for it, but you're also becoming their marketing team to ask other members to pay as well.
And so, is there a better way or a workaround? Because I'm just thinking, in general, we run a business, so there's overhead. We have to pay to get your app on any platform. So, what will be a better way? Because we're not saying that there shouldn't be money involved at all.
Right.
But what would be a better way, you think?
Well, that's exactly what I thought. So this is where I was back 10, 12 years ago when I was like, you know what, I don't have any money coming in. I'm unemployed, but I want to meet people. And I'm sitting at home all day long. How do I do this? I don't want to go out to the bar. I don't want to go out to a club. I don't want to go out. I want to meet someone. I want to go to church every day. Why can't I go to church every day and meet some friends? But so I created a Christian dating site, and I said, you know what? In order to have everyone communicate, I'm going to make it free. Now, how did I pay for that?
Ads.
Exactly.
Ads,
so
okay.
you do ads on the site, and you have ad income that comes in, and just barely meets the bare minimum of the server costs to keep everything running. And so as that grew, we had tons of people that were concurrently coming in. We had chat programs, we had all this stuff, and the way you use the site was a platform, a social platform, so that people could come in with the intention of finding someone else they knew, and there was a lot of interaction.
Don't want to derail. I have one more question, because there might be someone watching who maybe has an idea, but they're not in IT, so they have to hire someone. Where's that money going to come from if they can't pull it through the site?
It's very difficult to do that, and that's why most businesses
maybe crowdfund.
And most businesses are if they want to get into the dating website scene, they already have something established, and then they work off that and build off that, because it's hard to do it from the ground up if you have no income and you have no knowledge already.
Okay.
And so what I pulled together some interesting statistics from other paid dating websites, and through math we figured out that 93 to 96 profiles are dead. 93 to 96% of profiles are dead.
Majority of them?
Wow.
And
What is that? What's dead profile?
Dead means that either they have abandoned it, they have received so many messages that they are just inundated and they don't want to look at it anymore, or they are unable to talk because they're not paying for it, or they just have forgotten their password or whatever, and they're still in the search results, but they are not able to respond. So you are sending messages, and only about 7% of the time you're going to get even someone seeing your messages, not only sending something back. And also, this is statistics, women get 4 times the amount of messages that and reply much less than men. This is statistically speaking, and the reason is not because of our gender differences, but primarily because there is so much that of men that push to get messages out there really fast, and women sit back and just are inundated with this stuff.
Would you say that's just the natural order of things?
Yeah.
Men are more pursuers.
Couples with the possibility of couple that with the possibility of hitting a dead account, and men get a reply one reply for every 100 messages they send.
Wow.
So you got to really put in the work in order to get something on one of these pay sites. There is also a negative stat for the increasing messages that someone gets. The less personal, the less chances they will reply.
True.
So if you send out a bulk messages, because you got to get 100 messages out, you're going to get less messages because they're going to be like, oh, this guy's just saying hi.
Like a spam bot or something.
Yeah. So this is so some of the questions that people sent in were very interesting, because when you do online dating, you want to make sure that not only you're getting a message back, not only you're talking to the right people, but are these people Christian? And the pandemic pandemic, the plague, I guess is a better word, that we had for dating websites that are free is scams. I dealt, as an administrator, as the owner of the site, I dealt with so many scams. It was the plague of the dating website. And the majority of the scams, I had to block entire countries because the majority came from specific countries. And so as I put together the site, I noticed interesting similarities between all the scams that would happen. But what would you do for a vetting process on these sites? How would you verify that some of these sites were Christian or perhaps a specific denomination?
Wait, as a user or as a manager?
As a manager.
So hard. Ultimately, you don't know those people, and ultimately, you don't know their heart. I mean, they can tell you all the right answers all day long,
Right.
and be a sociopath.
Yeah, you can do like Bible
know,
trivia, and they're just looking up the answers.
And I don't think you can really truly know. Not that way.
Maybe Zoom them and ask them their testimony or something. And
Some
even
sites
then,
have done that. Yeah.
even then, you know, it's still a chance,
you
but
may
at
not
least
know.
That's a lot of time.
That's
Right.
what I'm
It is a lot of
saying.
time.
Like, just to sit there and hear, like, if you have 5,000 people joining your site.
Which means your site's probably not going to make money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot of time to invest in trying to vet
Because-
them out.
But that's
Not
your
only
job.
do you have to get rid of all those scammers, but now you have to sit there all day long and talk to all these different people
Right.
on your site.
Maybe make them work for it a little bit. Instead of having terms and conditions where you could just scroll to the bottom and press accept, they have to watch a video and complete a short questionnaire afterward to get into the site. Because
Wow.
that's effort to,
Yeah.
and it shows, you know, if someone really wants to be a part of this or not.
Copyright that.
Yeah.
These are some of the questions that people sent in. So do websites have a vetting process in place to make sure that people who they claim to be, and how do you know if they're true Christians? What is the site that is populated by nominal? What if the site's populated by nominal Christians? Shouldn't there be a pre-screening process to make sure that they are truly Christian?
No. Who are we to do that?
Exactly.
That
yeah.
should be between you and whoever you choose on the site. You know,
Right.
dig deeper, and then if that's not who you're looking for, move on. Why
Right.
would we cancel someone who's...
That's the
What
whole
if-
point.
What if they are a brand new Christian and they just came out of prison?
Yeah.
I don't know. The funny thing is, now get this. Now you look at me blankly.
Oh, I'm just seeing where you're going with this.
This is fascinating. Huh? So there was actually someone that got married on my site
Wow.
that was just out of prison, and he was a brand new Christian. And he later became an amazing facts evangelist.
Wow.
Do you know how many apostles went to prison? And
Exactly.
the church just started.
Exactly.
So I don't know. I think it's still case by case.
Yeah.
But congrats on that. That's pretty awesome.
Different
outcome.
places.
He actually wrote in his book, his testimony book, the name of the website, which is sold. I'm not going to. This is not an ad for someone else's website right now. So this is just interesting facts and about different things that we're talking about. But it's really interesting because I had people coming up to me at church and saying, "Hey, do you know about this dating website? I found my spouse on it at my current church." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's mine. That's my website." So,
But actually, if someone's this paranoid, I don't think dating websites is for them.
No.
I would say just
Yeah.
go back and start meeting people,
Right.
or go to social events where you can observe someone where they're not saving face because they don't know you're observing
Right.
them,
Right.
and make your decisions that way. 'Cause
Yeah.
Not tech savvy. This is not the arena for you to be in
But
at all.
I wonder if this stuff has actually changed the dating world, though. Like, it seems like, or even just the social world, like walking up to a stranger at a park and saying, "Hey, I just thought you looked interesting. My name's Mikey." They'd be like, "Why are you talking to me?" Like, that just seemed awkward, but back in the day, that's the way people did things, you
Yeah.
know? Now it's like, no, you should have hit me up on Facebook. We should need to go move to texting, and then we move to Zoom, and then we meet in person. So can you even, what do you do when you're in this society, this culture right now, and you are afraid of this because of all the hazards, and then you try to go in the dating world and just get rejection after rejection because it's like...
Well, let me ask you this. You and Brad did Men on the Street. Did you find it difficult to approach and talk to people?
Well, because they see a camera and a microphone, they're like, "Hey, what you guys doing?" You know?
Some of them.
some of them.
Some of them. I remember Brad was like, "Hey, do you want to?" Okay.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think true society may have shifted because of that, but I think the other end is there's this fear for people to actually do it. Like it may not be real, but because they're thinking it might happen, they never do it. Does that make sense? So it's like a facade.
So if you
People are
actually did it, people would be
to
like
it.
shockingly surprised and pleasantly surprised, I guess.
Exactly.
I know that some of these sites as well, they also give you tips. Like, I know the one that I was on, they were like, don't give anybody your number, even though that's like the primary thing that people ask for. They say like use a Google number instead.
Yep.
Don't go and visit the person like until you get to know them, and make sure you're in a public setting. So there are like kind of disclaimers that they share. Whether you read that or not is really up to you, but that's really a warning. Yeah.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And so it really posed a problem because I need to make sure that I don't get scammers in here. I need to have people that are legitimate that get in here and talk about this and have these interactions with people. So I would put trick questions on the site to try to trick people into answering the question the wrong way, these multiple choice questions. So I knew they weren't Christian. And when they weren't, when I found that, I also found out they were taking an extremely long time to answer some of these questions because I would put a timer on the site.
Wow.
And so they would go to Google, they would try to Google these trick questions, and then they would come back and it would be like, thank you for your questions. But in the back end, it would say this person took 5 minutes to answer 5 questions. They're probably not legit. And so it would give me a scale of, it would watch on about 16 different parameters, everything from what is their first words they send to people, how many messages they send people in a certain period of time, what's the first thing they do when they get on here, how many accounts have they created in a short period of time with this IP address, have they also used the same computer and the same browser to log in multiple times, and how so it would in the back end. I don't know if anybody's aware about it, but Facebook's doing this. I mean, all these social media apps, they know more about how you interact with their site than you do, because they have to. And in fact, there's ways you can calculate how close someone is and how what their location is without actually knowing exactly where they are. But you know that they're in this area of the city, and you had to know that, because if they're logging in from somewhere over here and they're stating on their profile that they're over here, that's a red flag. And so I would add that to the parameters of weight that say this person is probably not a legitimate user.
So would you just deny the person, or how would you proceed?
They would come into a list on my back end, and the back end, what I call back end, is an administrative portal, and it would say these people have logged in. This person is weighted at 100% dangerous. This person is weighted at 80%, 50%. Look into these people right here, and then I could click on it and give me a list of what it thought was incorrect about them. And I found that very effective in kind of mitigating the amount of scam I had on the site. But it was very difficult because, so I guess the point is, these websites, since you're going into an anonymous territory, anybody could be anything.
No.
And so you really have to get to know the person before you just say, hey, yeah, I'm going to go meet up with you somewhere.
Right. What's the time frame do you think is appropriate before you actually decide when you start talking to someone online to actually meeting them?
That's hard. You would need to talk with them for quite a while. See, I would not put a time frame on it. I would say you need to get to the point where you're comfortable in a video chat. You need to talk with them one-on-one in person, and be so much comfortable that you say, hey, I know this person one-on-one, let's meet up. I've met people on the site, and this is before I got married, obviously, that we would fly to meet each other, and we'd say hi, and I was at her parents' house, so there was nothing weird going on, and we would have a completely Christian relationship, friendship relationship, eventually a relationship, and it was a good interaction. But the problem is, I think the best advice someone ever gave me was, you need to know the person in all seasons. So not only does that mean you need to know them throughout a full year of process, but you need to see them when they're down, when they're sad. You need to see them when they're happy. You need to see them when they're angry. You need to see them when they are with family, and how they treat their relatives. And when you see them in all seasons, you can kind of say this person is going to be good or he's not going to be good. And you can't really do that with a dating app, but you can find people with a dating app. I think you gave me some interesting statistics about the amount of people recently I thought was very interesting. You said that there was, the more people that you have, the more difficult it is to decide, hey, this probably is the right person for me, versus if you had back then a small group of people and you said that is the pool to pull from, this person is Christian, and they'd be close. Do you remember saying something like that?
No, that's okay. I may or may not have.
That's true though. There was a time when your options were who you went to school with, who you work with, who you go to church with, maybe who's in your city. But you're not like, whoa, she lives 6 hours away and we got everything in common.
Yeah,
you know?
at your fingertips.
And I'll move over there, whatever. Like, you just didn't have those choices back then. So now you got people who are married and they start getting like maybe unhappy or whatever. And they're like, wait a minute, I have this other option over here. Like, back then you already knew your options. I know everybody in school, I know everybody at church, this is the one. Well, now it's like, wait a minute, there's this one in California, there's this one in Georgia, whatever.
Do you think that's a bad thing?
It can make things complicated, yeah. I mean,
I watched a TED Talk about that. The lady was talking about how Facebook is now like the little black book. And so because people are so used to marriage with the idea that I can just jump out of this anytime I need to, they actually have been shown to keep some relationships going on some level in a positive manner. So because if things don't work out over here, I always have these relationships
Plan
over
B.
here. So yeah, it happens.
That is...
I hesitate to say this on camera because so many people are watching, but, I think it will do more good than bad. Also, I'm a pretty creative person. But anyway, going back to the seasons talk, that you should see someone in every season. Do they get depressed in the winter, or like how do they act, and all these things. I remember my mom giving me some advice when she was in college.
Sorry?
I've told Brittany this. When she was in college, she took a psychology class, and the professor was just really trying to look out for his students, and he gave them some tips. Because my mom is all about tests. She says, don't play games with people, but it's good to test, just to get to know them as best you can. And in a respectful way, of course. But this professor said, men, you see these ladies, they like to wear a bunch of makeup or, dress a certain type of way, not whether he was for or against it, but his point was, one day, wake up 6 a.m. and go to her house and knock on the door and see how she answers it. So you can extrapolate so many things from that. First off, how does she look without all the glam? Also, how does she answer the door? Is she pissed? Does she not answer at all? Is she cautious about opening the door? Or does she just swing the door open? Hey, come inside my, private space. How does she act in that scenario? And then I was telling Brittany earlier, when I do get into a relationship, I'm planning on inviting him out on a hike on the hottest day of the year. And then on the hike, I'm planning on poking him or trying to annoy him to see how he responds to being annoyed, specifically being annoyed with me, and see how we can navigate that. Not that if he gets angry, I'm going to break up with him. Oh, you're not for me. But at least I know that, and it's not after that I do, and then it's so overwhelming that I feel trapped. It's something, okay, if there is some kind of clash, can we talk through it? I mean, there's so much you can learn by just testing.
I can hear the conversation with his friend, like, man, she's beautiful. We got everything in common, but she's like poking me and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
For more information, can I get a close up real quick? Back in. For more information and to reach Kendi, 555 Kendi.
Hey, Brad, that's the wrong camera.
I was
That's good. That's a sign.
I was gonna say, how do you feel since everybody knows your secret now?
Yeah.
Now when you take somebody on a hike,
did
they're
say
gonna know.
I'm a very creative person, so he's not gonna see it coming.
So do we need to do dry runs, ladies, so you can practice?
What do you mean?
Does one of us need to come over at like 5, 6 in the morning?
Oh, boy.
See how you respond. That way, if it doesn't work out,
Hey.
Charles is our guard dog.
Yeah.
You'll hear him first. You'll meet him first.
That's right.
So along the same lines of, you mentioned earlier, I think, Mikey, you said that what if there was no pictures? Was that you?
Yeah.
There was no pictures on the website. We actually did a little bit of analysis on that. There's a very, very popular, like hundreds of thousands of concurrent members pay site that talks about this. No, it wasn't a pay site. It was a free site back in the day when they had free sites. And they said They had a problem with their pictures one time, and all the pictures went down, but the site stayed open. They said this is fascinating. They said anytime that when this happened, they said anytime that you make the focus of your search centric on appearance, you lose the focus of the character. They said the competing website said that when they removed the pictures, or when the pictures went down for 7 hours, they found out that this was from their 20 million subscribers. They found out that their messages were responded to 44% more of the time. 44%. People started talking more because there was less pictures to look through.
Whoa.
The conversations, they were able to extrapolate from having an AI look at the different paragraphs that people were writing. They said the conversations were deeper than a few sentences. They actually went into more detail about what they were talking about. And they said contact details were exchanged much more quickly, obviously because they want to talk to each other and actually see who they are. And so, but they said immediately, as soon as they fixed the picture problem, it went right back to how it was. And so...
Why do you think physical appearance impacts us so much? Like what goes, like psychologically?
Us or men?
Just in general.
I think women settle a little bit more when the guy's got a fat wallet, you know. But it goes both ways. I think guys are like, oh, we don't have anything in common, but she's hot, so what's up? You know.
But it's like, what is it that's like, oh, this person's not attractive, I don't want to talk to them?
Yeah.
Versus like just getting to know the person or talking. Like why?
I think it's one of those things that's who we are. It's our natural makeup. To take away people in the grocery store, you go to what you're attracted to. You kind of leave all the other stuff away. When you picking through fruit, you try to get the attractive ones, not the bruised ones. So I don't think it has to be looked at in a bad light to approach or feel comfortable with someone that you feel comfortable with because you're attracted to them.
Right. And I guess we all have different preferences too.
That's
so
true.
It's like,
There's someone for everyone.
Right.
That is true. I was really surprised when I met, when I talked to coworkers at this restaurant I worked at, and I hear girls say, oh, I like a man with a little beer belly. I was like, are you kidding? Oh, I like a man that's balding. I'm like, what? There's somebody for everybody. Interesting.
So there was 2 questions at the beginning that I proposed that we're still going to cover. But do you remember what those 2 questions were?
Can the administrator see your password was one, and see your messages?
See your messages. Can he read your messages? So the truth is behind that one of them is possible and the other one is not, if it's set up right.
Let's pick, guys. What do you think?
I think seeing messages, yes. Seeing passwords, no, if it's set up right.
Yep, that's correct.
Wow.
So passwords are actually hashed on the site with something called salt. If you want to get real technical terms, it's a hash with a salt, and they can't be reconnected to a password because they are randomly hashed. But the way the program works is it takes your password that comes in, it hashes that password, and then compares the hashes together and says, this is the right password. I'm going to go ahead and let you in. So that way that when you put in your password, if the site is programmed this way, and all sites should be, that when the password comes in, the administrator can't take that password and then go to your email address and say, oh, I want the access to their email address too.
Okay.
That's just a security measure. However, emails or messages back and forth are not hashed. So they are stored in the system and mostly unencrypted. Nowadays, those are more end-to-end encryption, and you see more and more apps do that these days. But for the most part, the messages stored in the system. The administrator can go in and he can read all the messages from front to back, but usually there's so many users that this is not even ever looked at. And the chance that your messages are being read by someone else on the site are nil to none. Because
what do you think about WhatsApp?
WhatsApp?
Yeah, they were under a lot of heat because of that, but are those messages stored and can they be accessed?
I don't know a lot about WhatsApp. Okay. I know there's like Telegram and there's other sites that...
Owned by Facebook, so probably.
Are you serious?
Yes, I'm serious.
Yeah, they're all under Meta now.
Yeah, they're all Meta.
Monopoly.
So is Instagram.
It's amazing how...
so is Oculus.
Oculus is?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I knew that.
So it's really interesting to see that your data is not always as secure as you think it is, and unless the administrator is a upstanding person, any one of these websites could have your password, the owners of it, and you just might not know it. If you use that same password for all different websites,
bad idea.
It could be that someone could get into all your other websites as well if they own the website you put the password into. And so hopefully that's not the case. And that's not the way I designed my app, but definitely something to think about. So one person had, this is one of the last questions I had, is how did the owner of this dating website, me, how did I meet my significant other?
Interesting.
And if you want to hear that story, check out patreon.com/littlelightstudios. So what's funny is I met my wife at a local ministry, a Christian ministry, in person. And it was so funny because even my father stood up during the ceremony, after the ceremony. You go to this reception hall, and my dad stood up, he's like, yeah, he was so serious about trying to find a wife that he made this whole design and this concept, and then he found one right under his nose at work.
Wow.
And so what I found, though, by going through all this process and by looking through all these different things, it's difficult to get to know someone online. You don't understand the person and how much is involved in their personality to make a good decision. And I think that plays, that's a key element that people need to think about when they're on these dating websites.
But not impossible.
Not impossible. Weekly, I have people email me and say, I found my significant other on this site. I found my significant other. Thank you so much. I started putting up pages and pages of these people that would send me their wedding photos because they found them on the site.
That's cute.
And it was shocking to me because, I made this site to talk to girls.
Women.
So, women.
You don't want to talk to girls. If someone is watching and they are wondering, should I make a dating profile, try to meet someone online? Because you did say they are successes. Or should I wait to meet someone in person? And are either one of those options trusting more or less in God?
Do both.
Wow. So that's the heavy question, because we looked at, from the very beginning of the show, we looked at how the Bible had it set up and how we have to have, according to the Bible, our parents involved greatly. Because if you really think about it, if your parents really love you, they really know you. If they really know you, then they're able to say, yeah, this person is going to be right for their personality. This person's not going to be right for their personality. I actually had friends that said, while I was seeing people physically in real life, they said, you're not going to like that girl. This is not the personality that's going to go well for you.
Yeah.
And I couldn't see it, because the truth is, love is blind. When you get that emotional mindset and you're focused on this one person, you can't see that the person's abnormalities until months later.
Right.
So you need to have someone else involved, whether it's your parents, whether it's close friends, someone that knows you really well, and they're able to say, yes, this is going to go well for you. This is happening, and they are involved in that relationship. They're with you on different dates, and they're having a close relationship with you.
Yeah, I think also knowing people from that side as well, from their side, so that you can get to know who they are based on the people closest to them.
One of my brothers did it. He did the online dating thing, and it worked, and I thought he was crazy and told him not to do it. And he actually went, he'd done the video chat thing and gotten to know this girl for a time, and one day he took off to the Philippines and went over there and married her. And then he had to wait some time for her to be able to come over to the States, and they're still married today. So I know it does work for certain people. I've also known relatives of mine that have gone through the eHarmony experience. And I was more impressed with that because it seemed pretty extensive on what they were asking you. And I think I'm not going to say it's impossible to lie on eHarmony. I think it would be more difficult. But you can find ways. You can be who you want to be.
Yeah.
No.
You answer the questions the right way.
Well, the same in person.
Yeah.
Well, to answer your question, we're not of this world, but we're in this world. And so I think it's okay to use both, to use these dating platforms, but also to meet people in person.
Right.
But once you're just not, putting all your eggs in one basket or being irresponsible.
Right.
At some point, you have to make that transition with the online anyway.
True.
If it's going to work out, it's going to be in person. So you have to cross that bridge.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking what we went through as, the globe. And when we were on lockdown, it's that was the only way. We still do that for work and other things like that. So I think, meeting people in general, it's fine, whichever avenue you use. One thing I will say, though, I think you should know yourself as a person before trying to go and connect with someone else, and to not be so close-minded about the dating app sphere. There are different apps that do different things and help you connect with people in different ways. So there's some that, is just swiping. I don't even think there's one that's all swiping. There's not even a conversation. You just click a button to it's for hookups. It's not for relationships. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
There's others that, as you said, they delay showing the picture, and then you can talk for a little bit, and then they're revealed. I haven't been on any of those. The one I was on, it was a virtual speed dating site where, yes, you see the person's profile. Actually, you don't even see the person's profile. What happens is they pick a night, like the app picks a night, and everyone signs in, and then you just meet with people like it's a video call for a minute. So there's a countdown, and you talk as much as you can, and then it turns off and it flips to the next person. After 5, you get this page that has the icons of the people you talk to, and if you felt drawn to anyone, you click on their image. If they clicked on your image as well, then you get moved to a chat and you can talk to each other. So I thought that was really nice because I'm seeing the person immediately. I'm hearing their voice. I'm seeing what they look like. I hear how they answer my questions on the spot in person before I continue dialoguing with them, through text, because then anyone could be whatever they want to be. Versus the other way around where we have to start off through text and then maybe meet up later on.
That's similar to that video we watched. Remember? There's kind of like an in-person Tinder at first where they had this guy, and in real, he's there in real life. They line up all these ladies in front of him, and then he has to physically go like one way there. But after that, they had to sit down and kind of do the speed, thing, and then they asked him and the other. Well, they gave the girls an opportunity to bug out too. They're like, if you're not into this guy, you can leave now. Right. And so half of them leave, and it kind of narrows it down. And so that was kind of interesting, similar to what you're saying.
So that's there's different ones.
Brittany asked about physical, and made me think of that video clip I'm pretty sure you showed us, Keith, where this lady was meeting men that she had interactions with. They were interested. They meet. She's sitting down. When they get to the table, she stands up. She's literally like 2 feet taller than the dudes. Like she is 6 feet something.
She's like 6'7" or something.
And dude, everybody
6'7", wow.
Like everybody's just like, whoa, you're like totally that thought. And at some point they're like, is there a bathroom around here? And they'll go to the bathroom and would not come back. And she says this happens every time.
Yeah.
And that's just literally, she was attractive. It's just like literally you're just 2 feet taller.
Yeah.
It's amazing that the physics can play a role.
It probably has more to do with maybe like how they would feel as a man, maybe.
Like intimidated.
Inadequate.
Yeah, probably. And men probably want to be taller to be more protective and whatever.
They want to be helpful. Well, it's really interesting. And I think the only conclusion is that we should keep God at the forefront, and we should use these applications with prayer and focus on, hey, are these helping me build a relationship closer to God with a significant other, or is it helping me focus on what is the most basest passion of mine? Those two, I don't think it's necessarily the website that we should say, hey, all dating websites are bad, or we should only meet in person, or we should have our parents just blindly meet have someone give someone to us. I think there is a relationship, friendship involved in that, and where we have to utilize every resource we have, not only physically but also spiritually, to decide on a life partner.
Very good.
Excellent.
If you guys were blessed by this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that little bell icon so you can be notified when things like this happen, because we do this every week on Fridays afternoon, and we want you to be a part of that and you to be in the chat with us. We also have Patreon. If you think this is a good thing and we are doing something that you think is important for today's society, please go ahead and check us out. Little Light, or patreon.com/Little Light Studios.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Hi, you might not know me because I work mostly behind the scenes. But my name's Michael, and I'm the director of Little Light Studios 3D department. Right now, we're experimenting with new technology, where we're trying to blend reality with the virtual world. It's more efficient and offers us the opportunity to make higher quality productions with better visuals. By using the Unreal Engine software, it gives us the possibility to create realistic, virtual environments for sets in a short amount of time. We're working with what we have because we do have financial limits. That's why we're working toward getting an LED wall in the future, because it will allow us to use extended reality. This simply means that we don't need green screen anymore. It will save us tremendous time in the post-compositing process. We will also have realistic, accurate lighting that comes from LED wall, which matches the subject and the set in real time. Actors are able to see the set rather than having to imagine the scenes within the confines of the green screen. So, that's what we've been up to here at Little Light Studios. We're so thankful for the ways that God has blessed us, and we're so excited for what He has for us in the future.
Hey, Danique here. Have you ever asked any of these questions like, why does the Old Testament and New Testament God seem so different? Or what does the Bible have to say about sex? Why do we have to wait for sex until we're married? Or maybe who are the 144,000? Or why does it seem like God doesn't answer my prayer when clearly He says, ask and it shall be given to you, etc. Yeah, I've had those questions too. That's why you should tune in every single Wednesday to our brand new podcast, the Little Light Studios podcast, in which we seek to answer your most challenging Bible questions. Make sure you look us up and hit subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else where you listen to your podcasts. We'll be there every Wednesday. See you then.